how soon will Bill Belichick start complaining about the leniency of linemen downfield on pass plays, which made me laugh. Okay, so Bill Belichick will be stumping for this probably, because I bet he does. I agree with Vance that he's going to get incredibly frustrated about this. He's going, what are we doing here? Like, it is going to be, why isn't there a person standing 3 yards from the line of scrimmage looking for 50, 60, and 70 numbers crossing it? I'm with you on that, Vance.
What rule do you think is going to drive him the most insane? Like, that's a very specific rule, but that one will.
That one will, because it is called very tightly in the NFL, and because you teach your defense based on the fact that those guys can't do that. So
once
you teach your safeties,
point,
right? You teach your safeties, if you see a 60 number downfield, trigger and go tackle the ball carrier because he's not throwing it.
Not throwing it, right?
Which is what drove everybody crazy about that Gus Malzahn pop pass.
I wonder
because they would run it.
Yeah, go ahead.
They would run that, and there would be linemen like 5 yards downfield, but they'd only call it half the time. It's worth it because you may score a touchdown.
I wonder what off the field rule will drive him most crazy.
Ooh, that's a good question too. Because there's a lot of stupid things. Like, cream cheese isn't banned anymore, so I don't think it'll be that one.
I can't just pick up the phone and call a guy when I want. Like, I got
right. I know.
I can't pick up the phone.
Spring evaluation period. This is the Nick Saban rule. This drove Nick Saban crazy. So basically, Senator Tommy Tuberville and some other coaches got really mad because Nick Saban would outwork them in the spring. And so they banned head coaches from being on the road in the spring. So when Bill Belichick has to sit at his desk and his assistants are like, well, I saw this great safety in Florida, and another assistant's like, well, I saw this great safety in Ohio. Bill's like, wow, I'd love to be able to get on a plane and see that guy with my own eyes, but I can't. We got to talk about State and Liberty. I'm wearing the State and Liberty black waffle knit hoodie. I was in Mobile the other night. I was hanging out with some football coaches. They're like, man, you've been in the weight room. I'm like, no. That's just State and Liberty just hugging all the right places, because they build their clothing for people who, might go to the weight room every once in a while, but the way they hug you makes it look like you're going to the weight room all the time, because they don't have the things that have like a giant gut on it, because you don't have a giant gut. You've been working out. Comfortable, but does not sacrifice fit or quality, holds up in the wash. This sucker goes through the washing machine, goes through the dryer. It is fantastic. Use the code STAPLES for 10% off for new customers. And remember, State and Liberty, you've got hoodies like this, but you can also go all the way up to suits. I've got a couple State and Liberty suits. They're awesome. I wore one in the national championship game. So whether you're dressing down or dressing up as much as possible, because they actually have tuxedos as well, stateandliberty.com. Use the code STAPLES, 10% off for new customers. And Ari, we have a little news. That's going to drive him nuts.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see like what his involvement in the actual discourse of the sport are.
Well, I'm also curious about Bill Belichick in general. Like, one thing that has surprised me is he's not gotten the pop that Deion Sanders got when he went to Colorado. And I thought, this is Bill freaking Belichick coaching in college football at a major brand. Like, North Carolina is a big brand. I thought we would be a lot more interested in this, but I see the numbers on the columns and the videos and people are not nearly as interested in Bill Belichick as they were in Deion.
Yeah. Well, I think that like if we theorize as to why, it's probably just because he's not a person. Like, Deion is a mega personality. And like the thing about
and
Deion,
he was also people's favorite player. Like, being somebody's favorite player, I think, gives you a lot more of a connection than being someone's favorite coach.
Here's the other thing about Deion too. Deion didn't just take the job. Deion said a lot of shit like all the time. Like he would make headlines not just because he was Deion Sanders, but he would say things that would threaten or at least I don't threaten's the right word, but would threaten to change the paradigm of the sport. Like he was very outspoken about a lot of different things. He did the media tours. He's, you know how Deion is. He's like the most charismatic dude in coaching. Like, So I think that it's like his star
Or in
matter,
life.
but also
Like,
too,
he's one
he
of the most
fed
charismatic human beings on the planet.
on Earth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but like he's not just famous. He also did things to feed into that by acting a certain way.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal. So
but Bill Belichick, the other part that I find interesting about him is I was talking to somebody who has covered the one thing I like about the Senior Bowl is I get a chance to trade notes with the people who cover the NFL. And it was really interesting to hear people who've dealt a lot with the Belichick group over the years. And because he's bringing a lot of his guys, and obviously, you know, Josh McDaniels and those people who coached with him for a long time. Like, I think they probably helped him make this decision and probably, you know, we're studying along with him. I feel like this was a big offseason project. Like, he was doing a podcast with Matt Patricia and Michael Lombardi. Michael Lombardi is his GM at North Carolina. Like, I feel like they did a big project where they studied college football before he really committed to being into it. And one person told me that they think that the coaching is so bad in college football that they will just be able to coach these guys up and teach them better. And they'll have a personnel department that'll handle the recruiting, like, because you don't really need a bag man anymore. You just need, you know, to pay. But if that is true, and I don't know if that's true, that's one person telling me that.
They're dead.
I think they're dead too. In that, if that's true, you cannot be that arrogant. You can't. There are great teachers of the sport in college football who also happen to be good recruiters. Like, I go back to when Brian Harsin goes to Auburn and he's like, we're going to develop these guys. I'm like, bro, Kirby Smart and Nick Saban are as good or better developers than you, and they're starting with better players. Like, you cannot think.
Well, here's the thing.
That way.
How much of a coaching advantage do you have to have if the other team has a 5-star corner and you have a 3-star receiver? Like, how much of a coaching advantage do you have to neutralize that?
More of a coaching advantage than can possibly exist.
Because it's not like they have bad coaches. That kid would have to come out raw, and you'd have to, without any coaching, and then Andy, JD goes live in 5 minutes. I would love to talk to you for another hour and a half. I just wanted to let you know.
It's Friday. He doesn't have a show on Friday.
Oh, okay. So we can go till 10:30, 4 o'clock.
Yes.
How about 11?
We haven't talked once about what we need out of the garbage yet. So, I mean, I feel like the show's incomplete.
This flowed.
But no,
I thought this was a great show. I enjoyed it.
I did too. See, the arguing part is good. And let's talk, because I was kind of joking about it toward the end of that Michigan segment. Ari and I don't argue about stuff unless we actually feel that way.